We have a flood over the past several days of names. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Matt Gaetz, and Tulsi Gabbard was yesterday, National Defense, or rather, Department of National Intelligence, Director of National Intelligence, Radcliffe, and on the names go. Holman. I mean, I could go on and on. And there are still a few roles left to be determined. And obviously, many of these cabinet-level positions have to go through the process of being confirmed by the United States Senate. The expectation is that most of them will go smoothly. Matt Gaetz will not be one of them, and I don't believe that is by happenstance. Both things can be true at the same time. Some are saying, well, either he really wants Matt Gaetz or Matt Gaetz is a head fake designed to get all of the fire in that direction while everybody else goes around and gets confirmed with no issues. I would suggest that both things can be true at the same time. Donald Trump is not dumb enough. I mean, he's a very smart man, and he obviously understands that Matt Gaetz is the most controversial of his selections. Does that mean that Donald Trump doesn't think he'll get through? Of course it doesn't. I mean, I think Donald Trump thinks he can get him through. But even if we don't, and I'm not preparing you for the worst, I'm just suggesting if the worst case scenario is that we don't get Matt Gaetz, there are plenty of other names that will make qualified attorneys general. And if I told you that we get Hegseth and Holman and Gabbard and Kennedy and Musk and Ramaswamy and Ratcliffe and on and on and on and on and on and on it goes, but we don't get Gaetz, I mean, that's winning. That's winning. So I am prepared for the fight that the Democrats are. Understand something. The swamp is going to fight back, but they cannot fight, like I said last hour, they cannot fight every fight at an 11 because no one will listen to them anymore. They have to pick and choose their battles with these nominees. Elections have consequences, and they have to live with those consequences, especially considering that they don't have the Senate and especially considering they don't have the House of Representatives. And so as a result, most of these nominations are going to sail through. If Matt Gaetz is by design the one that's going to catch most flack and fire, so be it. Gaetz can handle it. And if he gets through, he does. Is it a harder lift? Absolutely, it's a harder lift. Sharon has a thought on this out of Fayetteville. Sharon, thank you for your call. Thank you for your patience. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. It's so nice to talk to you again.
Of course.
I'm the old lady that didn't understand the word of a stump rally.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Like a stump speech.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. I do remember.
That's who I am.
Well, I'm glad you called us back.
I have a question for you.
All right.
If Trump, since we have the House and we have the Senate, if Trump comes out and says, I'm questioning my thoughts of appointing Gaetz as Attorney General, and he puts it on hold and waits until he gets in office and us having the House and the Senate, then says, well, I'm going to stick with my choice, Matt Gaetz. Could that then get him in?
Well, you would still face the same pushback that you would anyway. So none of these confirmations are going to happen before January anyway. So he's just
more of a chance.
Well, but so nope. This Congress, the 118th Congress, which is now in session until the end of the year, they're not going to make these decisions. It's always going to. None of this is going to happen until January anyway. Does that make sense? He's just announcing his intention.
It does, but I thought maybe there would be more votes for Gaetz.
I don't know that it would change the votes necessarily. I mean, there's going to be a lot of conversation about it. I mean, you might be right, Sharon, that if he came out and said, hey, I'm pulling his name off the table, I'm reconsidering it, then the Democrats and the mainstream media would be demanding that he tell us who his pick is. Does that make sense? I think
then he would say, I'm not quite sure yet.
And then the response would be, and I'm not saying that, but the response would be, oh, Donald Trump's not ready to go. He's got to have an attorney general pick ready to go. You know, the world's on. I mean,
oh, hell with them and their response.
Well, that's true. Well, I think I think that's what he's saying now with the selection, Sharon. I think he's saying to hell with them right now.
What do you think of Tulsi Gabbard?
I love it. I absolutely love it. I think Tulsi Gabbard is well positioned to let the American people know those intelligence matters that we ought to know. She'll protect those things that are most vital to American interest. I like Tulsi Gabbard a lot. I like somebody that has the personal that knows themselves well enough to be able to understand when they need to remove themselves from a negative situation. Tulsi Gabbard was a Democrat. She saw where the Democrats had left rational thought and reason behind. Yes. And she had the personal courage to step out and say, I'm no longer a Democrat. I'm leaving them because they're insane. And that says a lot about her character and a lot about her strength. I think she'll do really, really good in that post. But let me. I
agree with you. But now, what about Nome?
You know, look, I have personal issues with Nome. I cannot get over the dog.
So do I.
I can't get over the dog thing.
I think she's going to cause trouble.
Well, you know what? If she takes the same attitude about protecting our southern border as she did by killing that dog and that goat, then maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But
do you think she's teamed up with that, what's his name, starts with an H, Hager or something, that's going to be in charge?
Homan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he teamed her up with him to make a balance?
Well, I think that he announced Homan first for a reason, and that is Homan's going to excite everyone about the possibility of getting these deportations happening. There's more to Homeland Security than just the southern border. Obviously, it's getting the most attention. I do think that they will make a good team. I think Kristi Noem has done a good job in South Dakota. I think that by all accounts, she is a good governor. I don't know how good of a person she is, and that's just my take on it. People disagree.
Well, I agree. I agree with you. But about how good of a person.
Well, I don't like people that kill dogs when they don't have to. That's a person.
I'm not thinking about dogs. I'm thinking about other things.
Well,
I'm not going to bring it up.
Well, I know, but I know exactly what you're talking about, Miss Sharon, and I get it. But on the,
I love you, and I thank you so much for taking my call.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you, Miss Sharon. I appreciate you, and I love you too.
One thing that people forget and Trump is fully aware of this, is Gates, when he threw McCarthy under the bus, he burned some bridges in the party.
Mm-hmm.
And that is going to cause him more trouble inside of those confirmation hearings than the Democrats will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Gates is the ultimate outsider.
At this point, he's been pushed out.
But what Sharon's saying, I think, I get it, Miss Sharon, but I think you accomplish more of that by leaving his name on the table. If you pull his name off, then immediately people are going to demand, well, who's your pick for AG? Who's the pick for AG? Why doesn't Donald Trump pick an AG? Why doesn't he know his AG? And they'll go out, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's a clown show and all that stuff.
And to what you said earlier, if Gates doesn't make it through and they try to throw his next AG nomination under the bus, then they're going to look like, well, you're just obstructionist. Yeah, I mean, you're just causing problems.
I mean, nobody's good enough for you. And in the meantime, Matt Gaetz will draw all the attention, all of the fire. I use the comparison of the antelope and the pack of lions. That pack of lions is there, right? Whether we like it or not, we can pretend they don't exist at our own peril. As I have told you for years, right, since you've known me, and I've been saying it since Donald Trump came down the escalator, did you not think the swamp was going to fight back? Of course they are. Now, we keep winning, and that's a wonderful thing. But just because we won last Tuesday, just because we're getting America back on the right track, do you not think the swamp, with this Department of Government Efficiency, do you not think the swamp's going to fight back? You are kidding yourself. You have people on national television, supposedly reputable commentators, arguing that there is no government inefficiency to save money. What a bunch of morons.
You know how you make a bureaucrat's head explode?
How's that?
You tell him you're cutting his budget.
Yep, that's exactly right. No matter what that budget is. And when they start getting... I've known for years... Let me give you a real quick example. I'll get back to calls in a moment, and I'll talk to you about the Department of Government Efficiency, too. I did an expose, years ago, when I was just into Birmingham. I'd left Montgomery radio, and I had just gotten to Birmingham, Alabama. I was in Montgomery from 1999 till 2002. I started my talk radio career in 2000 in Montgomery, Alabama. And in 2002, I moved up the interstate to Birmingham. And we had a Secretary of State at the time who was a Democrat, one of the last elected Democrats in the state of Alabama by the name of Nancy Worley. And I got a tip inside of Nancy Worley's office that she was buying automobiles and buying computer systems that her office as Secretary of State did not need because they were trying to spend the rest of their money before the budget cycle was up. This was like in August, and she was trying to spend all of her money by September. And you ask, well, why would she do that? Because she wanted the same budget the next year. So government sets these systems up by which bureaucrats waste money for fear of not getting the same amount of money the next budget cycle. So you understand what I'm saying? So Nancy Worley had like $1 million in her budget, and she bought automobiles and computers and all of these other capital expenditures so that she could soak that money up. So when it came to budget time, she could go say, oh, we spent all of our money and we need more. She actually asked for a 5% budget increase until we exposed her and said, wait a minute. If you had just, you could have saved the government money. You could have saved the taxpayers' money. Instead, you wasted the money just so you get the same budget and more next year. That's not a way to run a government. That's not a way to spend our money. That's the attitude in Washington, D.C. That if I have a budget, I want 105% of that money next year. And if you only offer me 102%, you know what I say you just did? You just cut my budget.
You cut my budget.
You cut my budget. Y'all
but you're still getting an extra 2 or 3%.
You cut it.
And that's what the Republicans and the Democrats both do it when they start talking about cuts. They're talking about smaller increases.
Right. Yeah, they embed up, let's just say 5%, right? They embed a 5% budgetary increase because of COLA and whatever. They embed that 5%. So if I say, well, listen, we're in lean times, you can only have 3%. They start howling about having their budget slashed. You're slashing my budgets. What a bunch of jokes. In the meantime, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are turning their newly appointed role in slashing government bureaucracy into somewhat of a game. Appointed to run a newly created Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, they plan to make the experience transparent and interactive by enlisting the help of the American taxpayer, including a virtual suggestion box as well as ranking some of the worst examples of federal waste. Musk, posting on his X machine, will have a leaderboard for most insanely dumb spending of your tax dollars. The entertainment value will be epic. Late Tuesday, the Trump transition team announced it had picked Musk, along with Vivek Ramaswamy, to run this entity. Together, they will slash regulation and expenditure deemed either excessive or wasteful, restructuring federal agencies, and last but not least, dismantling needless and wasteful bureaucracy. You know what this feels like to me? I don't want to think too much on it, and I don't want to make too much of it yet. For 30 years prior to Donald Trump, presidents of the United States of America talked about moving our embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And they all said they wanted to do it. And they all said, yeah, but we can't do that. It'll cause Middle East turmoil. Or, yeah, but we can't do that because of this. Or, yeah, but we can't do it. Oh, I want to do it. Oh, I'd love to do it. We can't do it now, but I'd love to do it. We'll get it done soon. One of these days, we'd love to do it. Everybody talked about how much they wanted to do it, and nobody did it. And then Donald Trump came into office, and you know what he did? He was just like, yeah, we're moving it. Oh, but you're going to cause unrest in the Middle East, Mr. President. Yeah, we're doing it. Yeah, but what happens if the Muslims rise up? Yeah, we're doing it. And he did it. Let's stop talking about doing it and do it. Let's not talk about it. Let's do it. I was talking about I feel the same way about this government efficiency thing. Everybody talks about this wasteful spending and nobody does anything about it. Trump's second term, we're going to do something about it.